Hello, today I'm going to be looking at these Mungyo Gallery Artists Soft Oil Pastels. This is the 48 set, which I showed in an art haul video earlier this week. I bought them on Amazon for about £25. They're looking slightly battered here because I'm filming this video the wrong way around, and I've actually already done the swatch and a painting with them. So I'll show you the swatch first of all, and then give you my impressions of them. I thought what I'd do now, just to give some context to my thoughts on the Mungyo oil pastels, is to give you a short breakdown on all the oil pastels that I've got. And I thought I'd start off with the Pentel Arts oil pastels. I've got the 50 set. So these are the hardest of the pastels that I own. And in some ways they're almost like wax crayons, except that they blend a bit better. The Pentels are very consistent in texture. They're just significantly harder than the other ones that I'm going to show you today. And this is how the white lays down. I think the 50 set has got a really nice assortment of colours in it. There aren't too many similar colours, and they've got some lovely lights and really good darks. There's no light, fast or pigment information, and they're not going to be that great for working with a palette knife. So I'll try and scrape some off and show you. So that kind of shows you the drier, kind of slightly crumblier texture. Then next are the Mongio, which we're mainly focusing on today. In the 48 set, again, I think there's a really nice assortment of colours. So the Mungyo Gallery are noticeably creamier than the Pentel. I'd say they're kind of medium softness. They're really opaque. And what I really like about them is that throughout the whole set, the consistency is the same throughout. I knew what I was getting with every single colour that I picked up, and I quite enjoy that quality. The other thing I really like about the Mongios is the packaging on them. They've got a nice grip to the wrapper. They're on nice and tightly. You can read the name clearly. And I like as well that the colour of the stick is pretty close to the colour that it lays down as, which is great for just glancing briefly at the box and pulling out the colour that you want. I've just really enjoyed working with these today. And that's how the white lays down. And this is how it fares with the palette knife. So you can see that it's got more opacity and more creaminess than the Pentel, but there's still a little bit of brittleness there and crumbliness. So next I'll look at the Paul Rubens. I've got the 48 set and the 36 set, which I've kind of amalgamated. So this is the first lot of colours. So the Paul Rubens are on average softer than the Mungyo artists. They've kind of got a stickier texture, but across the whole range there's a lot more variation in the texture of each stick. So I'm not sure if you could tell, but the orange that I laid down was a lot thicker and gloopier than the red and the yellow. Though a couple out of the ones that I've got are really quite hard, and there's also a couple that are just almost impossible to use. So I'll show you here with this gold. It's kind of what you just kind of get a big sort of chunks coming off and quite heavy lay down. This is the white. The white's got much better lay down than the previous two. It's much more opaque. And here's how it works with a palette knife. You can see it doesn't crumble away much, and it's just thicker and softer. I actually think that textured work is probably Paul Rubens' strengths. I think you could have absolutely great fun putting loads of texture into pictures with the Paul Rubens, as long as you're aware that not every single pastel is going to react the same way. I also like the wrapper on the Paul Rubens. They're nice and tight. The writing's a little bit small to identify, but on the whole, the colour of the stick is pretty accurate to the lay down colour. So it's not too hard to go to the colour that you want quite quickly. And then I've got the Senneliers. Oops, it's just broken off. So these are the softest and the creamiest. They've got more of an oily, kind of buttery texture to them. But I do find there's a lot of variation between the different sticks that I've got. I've got over 70 of the Sennelier oil pastels, and from the ones that I've got, maybe 2/3 have got a nice kind of average creamy consistency, but a good few are quite gloopy and thick. I'll kind of show you what I mean. Quite a few of those that are more gloopy are the transparent ones. So you can see the more transparent areas where it's thinner. And when you blend this, obviously you're going to still have areas of transparency and thicker areas. So it's a skill I need to work on to get the smoother blending with those colours. And others are more opaque, but just very, very soft. I'll show you the white. One of the good things about the Senneliers is that you do have light fast and pigment information. So you can see the softness and creaminess with the palette knife. Though to be honest, because the Senneliers are the most expensive, if I do want to do this kind of textured thick look, I'll probably use the Paul Rubens, which are a lot cheaper and still nice to play with in that thick way. So I will say I don't like the Sennelier wrappers. Some of them are really, really loose. This one's a bit tighter, but the information's covered up. And on some of them, the information has just not printed out very well. So it's really hard to see the name. And the other thing with the Sennelier is that quite often the crayon colour doesn't match the laydown colour very well. So I'm finding it harder to go to the exact colour I want just by looking in the box. I tried writing the name with Sharpie on the wrapper, but you can see in the top half here, when I've got like waxy fingers, it's just kind of rubbing away the Sharpie. So I think what I'm going to do is get a sliver of paper with a colour swatch and the name written on, and then I'll use clear parcel tape or sellotape or something to put around the barrel to make it easier for me to get to the colours I want quickly. So I hope that's a useful little comparison there anyway. I do really like these Mongios. I love that they are consistent and opaque. They're not going to be perfect for everything because they aren't quite as soft as these two. I think between these four, I really love the variation that I can get with the oil pastels. And going back to just the Mongios now, the complete range is 120 colours. I think they've made good selections, like I said, for the 48 set. But there are some other really nice, more pastel colours, more muted colours in the rest of the range. I need to have a look and see if I can buy the Gallery Pastels open stock from the UK. I'll take a look at that and add the information onto the video at the end if I can find it. So now I'm going to show you a painting I did with just the Mungyo Gallery oil pastels. So I do use the Sennelier white towards the end because it's that bit more opaque. My reference picture for this is an oil painting by Guzenko Pavel Petrovic. You might have spotted that I started off wearing nitrile gloves, but as soon as I started trying to blend, it didn't work well at all. I also had a go at blending with one of these sponge dabber kind of things from Stampin' Up, and it worked reasonably well, but then it started transferring colour, and also it's quite a large surface area, so you couldn't do any detailed blending with it. So I just switched back to using my fingers and found that a lot easier. I did really enjoy using the Mungyo pastels, mainly because they're so consistent and opaque, even if they are harder pastels. I hope you enjoyed this anyway, and I found it somewhat useful. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!